Very good morning, and hope everyone is refreshed with all the activities that you're being part of right from the morning. And today being a Sunday, it is really cool that I've attended this meeting and it was full of energy. I can see all of you very active, and I would promise you to keep up this activeness till the end of my session. And before I would like to get started, I wanted to tell all of you that this session would be a lot of information coming in, as I wanted to share a lot of abundance of information with you. So it would be good if you can have a pen and paper with you. And also, I have few interactive questions in between so that we can keep the session engaging. So that whenever I ask someone to interact, do kindly interact with me. So without further ado, let's dive into today's session. And what I'm going to talk today is how to max your speech evaluation. So this is something that I've been listening right when I joined Toastmasters, that evaluation is very key. It is breakfast of champions. After hearing this, I even skipped my breakfast today because I'm taking a session on evaluation. Okay, so what I'm going to do today is I would be talking about how to evaluate a talk or speech or any activity that goes on in your life. And specifically, I would be talking about how to max your speech evaluation. I would be also covering what is a sandwich technique and what are some of the do's, don'ts in evaluation. And when we come to the end of the session, I would be taking you through the contest preparation and how does the contest actually happen in Toastmasters. All right, let us get started. And as I've said, it would be interactive, isn't it? So to gain full throttle on a bike, we should first be good at driving. Let us first eliminate the misconception that people have in their mind about evaluation. So as you can see on the screen, there are two terms. One is judgment and second is evaluation. Can you take 30 seconds of your time to mention whether both of them are same, or what is the difference between judgment and evaluation? Please use the chat window and say what is the difference between evaluation or judgment. And if you feel they are same, you can just enter both of them are same. Go ahead. I will be waiting for 30 seconds. Please use the chat window. If you feel what is the difference between evaluation and judgment, mention that. Or if you feel it is same, mention it is same. I'm waiting for your responses. Didn't get one yet. So it would be lovely to see people interacting. Otherwise, it would be a one-sided session. Yes, the first response comes in. Yes, it's not the same. Yes, correct, Lokeshwari. So what might be the difference? What might be the difference?
Like evaluation is something where we provide feedbacks and then we come to rectify it, whereas judgment is something you give it at a point and you will have to take it. Like evaluation might be in some point of improvising, might be judgment in case of a mistake or something like that.
Yes, you are close to it. And I also got a response from Dinesh saying that judgment is the result, evaluation is improvement for F&B. I didn't get what F&B is, but still, let us move further. And what judgment and evaluation is, in simple terms, judgment is when you share your opinion or telling that, yeah, this is good. No, this is bad. But whereas evaluation is when you tell people why it is bad and what went wrong. Just like we watched all cricket matches and we say, this guy doesn't know how to play. Could have played that shot, right? And only coaches and analysts do evaluation. When they say that he should have played through the covers or he should have played this shot and the timing was wrong, that's why he got out. That is what is evaluation. So before we actually get in, I wanted to eliminate this misconception between judgment and evaluation. So try to avoid judgment, just like I've highlighted that black area. Don't get into the area of judgment. Never judge someone. Try to evaluate and motivate them. Tell them why is it happening, what is the problem in, and you did very well. where they did very well. So that is how you should evaluate. And both of them are different. As you can see, the 6 feet distance between both of them. All right. Now comes the main part, and what actually happens in evaluation and how do we actually prepare for an evaluation. So I've divided this into 3 segments. One is before you actually evaluate a speech, and the second is when the speaker is speaking, what you should be doing, and the third is when you're on stage delivering your evaluation speech, what you should be doing. So first we would be covering before the evaluation actually starts, before the speaker gives a speech the week before or 2 days before, what you should be actually doing. First and the foremost thing is to approach the speaker. Now, when you talk to the speaker, only then you would be understanding his mindset, what is he talking on, what are his goals, what he wants him to be judged or evaluated on. So for a particular project, there are particular objectives. So approach the speaker and know his objectives. Second, be ready. Now this be ready is very simple, but many people aren't ready when they come to the evaluation. No, they forget their notebook, they forget the speaker's manuals, they forget the speaker objectives. That is not a very good practice. Be ready when you're evaluating someone. And the third is, I've mentioned earlier, speaker goals. Now, I've seen a lot of people giving speeches and a lot of evaluators also evaluating them. But post that, do you get in touch with your speaker and share that have the speaker met their goals or not? Very few do it, isn't it? So after the speech or even before the speech, you just get to know what are the speaker goals. And after the speech, you go to him and tell these goals are met, and make sure you mention this point when you're giving a speech as well. So that covers before evaluation what you should be doing. Now, during the evaluation, what you should be doing. The first thing is evaluate the speech and not the person. Always keep in your mind the main purpose of evaluation is to support, help, and encourage the speaker. Never ever assess their personal qualities, only assess actions related to their speech. Eliminate the person in your mind and only evaluate the speech. Second is taking notes. Now, sometimes we often tend to get lazy and okay, we evaluate on stage. There is no need of a notebook and writing down the points. Trust me, 9 out of 10 times it will not work because you will obviously forget the points because it's not your speech. It is someone else's speech. And when you go on stage, you just forget all the points that you have. So why not take a piece of paper, write down all the points before in hand. When you get on stage, make sure you do this. Third is listening. Listening is one of the most underrated skill, I would say, because very few people, as I've seen over this last 5 years, very few of them listen to the entire meeting. So that is why few of the clubs have come up with this listening quizzes, etc. And that really works out. Well, if you ask me what happened in the last week's meeting, I may not be able to remember. But someone who takes notes of what happens every second or every minute, whatever happens, what is the speaker speaking? If you take notes of that, and if you listen carefully, only that you would be getting points. Now let's move on to on stage, what you should be doing. So the third part is when you're on stage, if you've missed all these 2 areas, do not worry. This is where you got to cover up. Now, don't show that you are worried when you are on stage and as you have missed few points earlier, and if you don't know the speaker objective, somewhere if you miss some points in the last 2 steps, do not worry. Don't showcase that fear on stage. Now, be very confident. And next, what are few things that you need to take care while you talk? First, as I've said earlier, encourage the speaker. Now, how do you do this? Have words such as I believe, my reaction was, and I suggest that. Use I phrases only. And secondly, avoid all the phrases like such as personalizing languages such as you didn't do that or you should have done that. you fail to do this, eliminate all of this. It is just you're evaluating to motivate. Have that in your mind, and constructive criticism, as they say, that should be in place when you give an evaluation. And the third and the most forgotten thing is remembering that we are also giving a speech. Now, when you're giving an evaluation speech, most of us might not tend to be coming away from the opening body conclusion method that is used in a public speech. We use random narrations, random style of transitions, etc. But remember, you are also giving a speech, so follow the opening body conclusion. Don't miss it. So till now we have seen what is the difference between judgment versus evaluation, and we have eliminated the misconception of judgment. And next we have seen what are the three areas, like what you should be doing before an evaluation, and when the speaker is speaking, and also when you're on stage. Right. Now it's time to understand what is the areas of concern for an evaluator. Now, when I tried to analyze what are the areas of concern for an evaluator, what it might be, now I came up with only two things. Strangely, these two things cover the 100% area of concern for evaluators. I can challenge anyone to prove me wrong here, because there are only two things that you need to do in evaluation. Now, finding recommendations and finding commendations, isn't it? So these two, whether it is a problem in this area or this finding commendations area, you should figure it out. So what is finding recommendation and why it is difficult for some people is it only happens when you listen to speakers, seasoned speakers, and it's very difficult to find out that recommendation point. It is very difficult to find out the recommendation point that instance. And second thing happens, like finding commendation, only when the speaker fails to give a speech, or when he suddenly drops on stage, you don't find the commendation point. You should be ready for both of this, as I have witnessed the second part, that in a contest while it was happening, I was sitting and I saw a speaker suddenly broke out at the end of 4.5 minutes, and she started to cry and she quit the stage. It was an evaluation contest, and all the evaluation contestants were saying like, what should I be evaluating on now? And that happens sometimes. So we should be ready for both of the situations. Now that we have addressed that, we should be finding recommendations and commendations, and these two are the major areas of concern. I have a small exercise for all of you, and how it goes is we are going to find out positives of the COVID-19 lockdown. Now, this photo might be very similar to all of us, and what we will be doing now is called ticking positives. Now, you have heard this word lockdown a while. It's been all around 1.5 years now. So I want all of you to take another 30 seconds of your time in the chat to mention what are the positives that you had in this lockdown. What are the positive things you had in this lockdown? So I am starting my time. Please be a little quick and answering what are the positives that you had in this lockdown. Go ahead and use the chat window. Or if you're free, you can unmute and share as well. It's gonna be really interesting, trust me, and take your time out to do this. Yes, as Ramachandran said, we have got quality time to spend with family and friends, family time, as Vandana said, staying home. Yes, that is a positive. Next, come on guys, go ahead. Little quick, one more response. Yes, staying healthy, cool. So let's move on again, and this activity is not over yet, as now we go out to pick few of the negative points. Now this is called picking negatives. The same photo, try to pick out few negative elements that you identified in this lockdown. Yes, Sadak, I got your point. Hygiene improvement. Now, let us quickly try to pick out what are the negatives in this lockdown. There are a lot of negatives, isn't it? All of us felt that we are downtrodden, something happened to us. So we have become lazy. Yes, good enough answer. Next, come on, guys. Be little quick because I have a lot of information to share with you. Losing fitness. Yes, correct. Loss in livelihood. Can't explore apart from home. Nice. That is really good.
It's a very
So
hard to. It was very hard to see people experience act, these kind of situations in COVID. So that was one negative.
yes, that is very true. Yes, Kamlesh, you identified the correct negative and the most feeling that many people are disheartened what happened to their families, and that is really correct. So now, why did we do this activity? There is something called sandwich. Okay, I'll not make you hungry today, but that is why I did this activity, and it is a way of a technique of an speech evaluation. So in the past, like in the 1 minute, we have been doing this picking positives and picking negatives. So we have covered the two areas of finding recommendations and finding commendations, isn't it? So if you can pick out a problem that is the entire world is facing, can't you evaluate a speech? You can, right? You were able to pick out positives from the lockdown, you were able to pick out the negatives from the lockdown, and that is exactly what the mindset you should be having while evaluating a speech. Try to cover both the areas, try to be optimistic and cover both the areas of the positive things that the speaker did and also few recommendations the speaker you would be suggesting. So that brings us to the sandwich I was talking earlier. And how do you deliver an evaluation speech and without impacting the moral of the speaker is by using few techniques. And today I will be covering the sandwich technique. So this is followed by almost 90% of the evaluation contestants, and it is proven technique to be winning technique to be an evaluation champion. So what you should do in this is you should start off the first layer by giving a positive feedback, and then you give a constructive criticism in the next layer, and to finish off the sandwich, give a layer of positive feedback in the third part. So this makes it a sandwich, isn't it? And this is also called comment, recommend, and comment technique, the CRC technique as they say. So whenever you're evaluating, make sure this technique is followed. And there are few other techniques that people follow, but this is a standardized technique and it really works. So from the next time, whenever you're evaluating a speech, start off with the positives, provide your constructive criticism, and then again touch upon the positive feedbacks. Do not forget this technique, and I hope you will not forget, because that makes Sunday morning really yummy to see a sandwich. So as we did earlier, we have sandwiched the lockdown. We have picked the positives, we have picked the negatives, and to complete this, we would be adding few points that all our speakers said, and we would be covering with this positive layer again to make it a complete sandwich. Right. So that is what the techniques of evaluation and how you actually should be doing. Now comes the contest part, or which I wanted to share with all of you, as the speech contest in Toastmasters is coming up. This takes another 3 to 4 minutes about knowing what is actually a contest and how it does actually happen, because many of you are new to Toastmasters and haven't witnessed a contest. So I would be taking you through how the contest actually happens, what is a contest in first place, and later we will see what is coming up. So firstly, for people who are joined, like Toastmasters is a public speaking forum and all that. And next, for all of the members who are in Toastmasters, every year Toastmaster conducts an humorous evaluation, table topics, and ISC speech contest. So every year it happens for once on each particular topic. And how does the roadmap actually look is Firstly, you would be contesting in your club competition. So all of you are part of High Mount Toastmasters Club, and you would be contesting in the evaluation contest which is coming up. So when you contest, 2 people are selected from the club level and they are progressed to the area level. Similarly, all the clubs in your area select 2 people from their club and they again contest for 2 places in the area contest. And this area level contestants are again gonna go through the division level contest, and the roadmap goes on till the world champion of public speaking. And this is how the roadmap actually looks. And how do you actually be evaluated on? So this is something called the judges ballot. Whenever you give a speech, we tend to feel that, yeah, I've done well. So what is the area of concern? Like where did I lose my position or so? This is where you should look on. Firstly, you would be evaluated on the analytical quality, that is for 40 marks, like whether your speech was clear and focused. And secondly, you would be checking upon the recommendations, like whether you gave a positive, specific and helpful feedback or not. And that is for 30 marks. And the third is the technique that you have used. That is, as I've told earlier, sandwich technique, whatever the technique you're using, whether it is effective or not. And the last, when you sum up, the conclusion was concise enough or not. So this is how it sums up to 100 marks. And post that, you would be scored by all the judges that are present in the panel. And the 2 participants are selected, obviously, which happens in a contest. So these are the judging criteria. And to have a good look about this, I would be sharing with your VP Education about the ballot that judges use, so that it would be very helpful for all of you preparing for the contest. Right. Now, actually, how does the contest happen? You would be briefed about this by the chief judge, but let me give you clarity so that you can prepare very well, like as it is first time that few of you are contesting. Evaluation contest is not similar to evaluations that happen in our club. Let me tell you how it happens. All the contestants who are nominated for the evaluation contest will be evaluating only one speaker. Yes. So everyone who has evaluated would be given a piece of paper to note down all the respective points that you wanted to share on stage. You would be given time for that. And then all of you would be escorted to another room and you would be called upon, like in the order you have chosen, and one by one would be sharing your speech evaluations. So that is how it happens. And this would be discussed in detail when the contest actually comes by the chief judge. Yes, so we are coming to the end of the session, and let me not bore you with all the contest related material, what is evaluation and all that. I just wanted to share this with all of you, and this is personal experience that I had, and this is some of the tips that I feel would be useful for some of you who are taking it down. First thing, pen down your points. As I've told earlier, never ever go directly on stage to talk without writing down your points. Be prepared with a piece of paper, divide the paper into half, put the positives on one side, negatives on the other side, come to a conclusion, and only then get on stage. Second is very much related to both people who are contesting and also people who are not even Toastmastering and all that. Focus on the unfocused. For example, if you're buying a fridge today, all of us, or many of us, I would say, would be just seeing a 10 years warranty on the compressor. But very few people see what is the warranty on the parts. Compressor will obviously come for 10 years. But when you try to focus on the things that are unfocused, only then you come into a good evaluation. And this is even applicable to the speech evaluations as well. When you focus on the points such as, no, your script had this point that needs to be addressed, or this twist could be in that way, other than, like, many of them focus on the body language was not good, the eye contact was bad. These points are very much repetitive. If you touch upon these points, definitely you're not going to win. So try to focus on the unfocused. Third thing is clarity of thought. Now, before you get on stage, be very clear on whether you would be targeting the conclusion, whether it is good or bad. Have that clarity. When you go on stage and tell the conclusion had this twist, which was bad, and when you say the conclusion had a takeaway, which is good, both of them are conflicting, right? So never ever do this. Have clarity in your thought. And the fourth part is to sum up really cool. Now I've been speaking for about 20 minutes now, and if you don't give a good conclusion, would you be having the takeaway message? You would just say, no, Preetham has spoken for 20 minutes without any conclusion. So never have that kind of an impact when you talk. All right, I know I'm exceeding a little bit on time, but there are last two slides that I'm gonna talk upon. And one is the best practices that you can do, or right away you can start doing it, is one is start to evaluate seasoned speakers, TEDx speakers, watch more of world champion speeches, start evaluating them. And only when then you get to identify the recommendation points in seasoned speakers. Second, as I've kept on telling, try to maintain a meeting notes from today. In the next meetings, whenever you attend, note down all the points. What is Lokeshwari speaking? What is Dinesh speaking? So I know, have that scheduled. So it would be, when you look back, you would have a clarity on what actually happened. The third is try to evaluate everything that is around you. When I've been talking about the fridge, you try to evaluate market, or you just whatever you see around the fan, for example, try to evaluate and only then take decision whether the fan is good enough compared to existing products in the market, why it is good, the SWOT analysis as they say. So why do you do this? It's just to evaluate and find out the best. And this applies to your speech as well. Start evaluating more speeches so that you make it as a habit. And last but not the least is to be unique. As I've said earlier, if you have points that are repetitive, that will not work out. Be very unique. Try to target the script part and areas that are not very much focused by the other participants. All right. So the call for action, as I've said, we will be starting to evaluate things from today, and we will be always keeping in mind to evaluate only to motivate. Last thing I wanted to say is listen, write, and only then evaluate. Do not directly get into evaluation, and never judge anyone. Only try to motivate when you evaluate someone. So as our flyer even said, evaluation and feedback is the breakfast of champion. Try to have this habit of developing your evaluation skills right from today, and it would be helpful not only for the contests and Toastmasters, but in real life as well. So that's all what I